Hey YouTube, welcome back to Sibz, West Coast, East Coast siblings, where we cover your favorite movies and television shows. Tonight we are covering Debris episode 2. Okay, you guys, listen. It wasn't terrible. Okay, I'm happy to report that the second episode of Debris is notably better than the first one. I also just want to shout out to you guys who left comments. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Some of you actually liked it and are kind of looking forward to it, but a lot of you seem to be like me, where it's like, the first episode sucked, I'm gonna give it a try and see what happens. There's a lot of comparisons between the X-Files and Fringe, which, you know, that's a really good point that I didn't think about until you guys brought it up. Anyway, breaking down this episode from the jump. So, specific metals are being dragged into a pile in Pennsylvania. Obviously, they know this is related to debris, so Brian and Finola fly to PA to figure out what the heck is going on. We later find these pieces of metals are being kind of curated to make a mathematically perfect circle around the town, and in the center of the town is the house of this dude named Eric, who we later find out has been cloned multiple times by this piece of debris. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I think this is like a bigger piece of debris that they've found, and it seems to have just crash landed through Eric's house and, you know, kind of messed Eric up. The next big thing that happened in this episode is we meet Finola's sister, Dee. And Dee is like apparently a drug addict, and she's in some sketchy stuff over in London. Now, we know that Dee's father died, and apparently the two sisters are trying to split up his estate, and they're just butting heads constantly. There's a lot of mystery going on with Finola's father's death, but we'll get into that in a second. I really liked that in this episode they kind of explore who Finola is better, I think. I certainly enjoyed this episode better than last week, and I even emotionally connected to her when she was talking about, you know, spending time with her father in the morgue, and you know, him telling her that she wasn't alone and whatnot. That was the last text message that they had together. So I just I understood her a little bit better this week. So that's good, I guess. And then the last big thing that happens in this episode is we learn that Orbital doesn't know anything about what's going on with George Jones. They're just as in the dark as we are as an audience. Now, to me, they're like, oh, you know, he's alive. And I'm like, but we just saw in the episode before that a dead little boy came back to life. And even in this episode, they're clones. And I think Brian brings that up, like, well, there are clones. Like, it could be a clone version of George Jones. I don't know. Anyway, Orbital seems to be obsessed with finding George Jones because he pretty much wrote the book on all of this alien debris that is now on Earth. And they think that the Londoners have him and the UK is lying. So there's a scene where the boss man, don't know what his name is, the head CIA guy is talking to the head MI6 gal, whose name I also don't know. And, you know, they're pretty much just lying to each other, trying to figure out as much information as the other person has. And they're like, oh, well, we have operatives working in the field together. I care about her. I know you care about him. We should be totally upfront and honest with each other. And then he's like, yeah, we totally should. And then he just lies to her face. So there's a lot of that going on. But it seems like England is just as in the dark about George Jones and his whereabouts as the US is, but the US is like, we're gonna send some people over there to the UK and figure out what they're hiding from us. I also want to point out too that the boss at Orbital had a meeting with his boss, I guess, at, I believe it was the FBI, and the FBI guy asks him how his family's doing, and he says something along the lines of, you know, like, it is what it is. So there's something weird going on with his family. We know that the boss for the CIA is also in charge of rebuilding the spaceship that crashed to Earth, where all the debris is coming from. So something to note, I wonder if like one of his family members has been strongly affected or something by the debris, I don't know. So my general opinion on this episode is, hands down, it was much better than last week. And a lot of you guys were right in that you were like, oh, you know, give it a chance. And this week I definitely appreciated a lot more the sci-fi effect of it. I did get some strong X-Files, like Monster of the Week type shows. So now my expectation is set for that type of TV show. And I guess my fault is I didn't really know what I was getting into with Debris, because that's how we like to do it here at Sibz. We like to be surprised. So now that I understand that that's kind of the beat and the flow of the show, I think it's off to a much better start this week than it was last week. So I'm gonna keep watching. Let me know if you guys are gonna keep watching. Did this episode hook you? I also appreciated, though it was still awkward and there were still some really uncomfortable beats, that Brian and Finola are creating a relationship and they're talking about the peeps and whatnot. And, you know, I get it. You've got to have a strong partnership. We got to like the people that we're following around for this series, and they've got to like each other. There's got to be something about them that, you know, makes us keep watching. So I think they're kind of working on that. I still don't really care for either of them that much, but at least it seems like they kind of are getting together better as a pair, and I am hopeful that maybe by the season finale, they'll be more, like, genuinely likable. Also, we learned in this episode that Brian has a past, and we kind of knew that last week. He's so, like, dodgy with the life details. Like, he gives Finola the textbook information about himself, but not the deep heart gushy stuff. And we learned in this episode that he has a picture of a woman in his clone. Forgot to mention he got cloned by the debris. A little crazy. He gets cloned by the debris, shoots himself. In the clone, there's a picture of a woman. I'm assuming it's a past lover or something. He seems to be emotionally torn up about it and tries to hide it from Finola. Obviously, she catches it and confronts him about it, and he's like, all mysteriously, some other time. Still very strange, but hey, we're learning more about these characters, and that's all you can ask for. Yeah, so all in all, you guys, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it was better than last week. I'm gonna watch next week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, thank you so much for your comments from last week. Keep it going. Let me know what you think. Oh, you guys, I also want to point out too, my Wi-Fi sucks, so I definitely like missed some stuff that happened in this episode. Like it froze really quick and then it sped up. So if I missed some big important plot twist or something in this episode, definitely let me know in the comments and we can sort of chop it up and figure out how that relates to the rest of the story. It's really, really helpful to get other people's opinions on this because I'm sitting here watching this like, am I crazy or is this like not great? But we're getting there. We're getting there, okay? Yeah, so that's all I have off the dome for this week's episode of Debris. Don't forget to like this video if you like this video, subscribe and click the bell so you can be notified of all things We Sibz. We are covering a whole heck of a lot of content over here. Superman, Servant, Snowpiercer. I just finished covering WandaVision, so if you didn't see that, definitely check that out. It was really good, although the ending was kind of anticlimactic. Anyway, next week I will be covering the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so click the bell for that. Yeah, guys, I think that's it. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.